It started on an ordinary evening, the kind that used to feel safe. The soft hum of the ceiling fan filled the living room while warm light spilled across the walls. She sat beside him, close enough that her knee brushed against his, a familiar comfort he had never questioned before. At 40, she carried herself with a quiet confidence, graceful, composed, the kind of woman people noticed without her trying, and somehow he had always believed that meant stability, until she spoke. "I think we should open our marriage." Her voice wasn't hesitant. It wasn't emotional. It was measured, almost rehearsed. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he focused on something small, the way her fingers rested lightly on his wrist. That touch used to mean reassurance. Now it felt like something else, like a distraction. "What do you mean?" he asked quietly. She turned to him then, offering a soft smile. Not cold, not distant, just controlled. "It doesn't mean we don't love each other, she said. "It just means we don't have to limit ourselves." Limit. The word lingered in his mind longer than her explanation. He studied her face, searching for something. Doubt, fear, anything that would make this feel like a conversation instead of a decision already made. But her eyes held steady, calm, certain. That's when something shifted inside him. Not anger, not yet. Just distance. He nodded slowly, though he didn't fully understand why. Maybe it was the way she looked at him, like she had already moved forward and was waiting for him to catch up. Maybe it was the quiet fear of losing her if he said no. Or maybe, deep down, he already felt her slipping away. Her hand squeezed his wrist gently, as if sealing an agreement he hadn't truly made. The warmth of her touch spread across his skin, but it no longer reached his chest. That night, they sat together like they always did, close, comfortable. But something invisible had settled between them. A space. And for the first time since loving her, he felt alone while sitting right beside her. The change didn't happen all at once. It was subtle, almost careful. At first, it was just small things that could easily be ignored if he wanted to believe everything was still normal. She started coming home a little later than usual, not dramatically late, just enough to feel off. When he asked, her answers were smooth, effortless. Work ran long, or we had dinner after the meeting. Always reasonable, always calm. And that calmness, it began to feel unnatural. He noticed how her phone was never left unattended anymore. It used to rest casually on the table, unlocked, unguarded. Now it was always face down, always within reach, always just slightly out of sight when he walked into the room. One evening, he sat beside her again. The same couch, the same soft lighting, the same quiet hum of the fan. But it didn't feel the same. Her shoulder brushed against his, but instead of leaning in like she used to, she adjusted slightly, creating space. It was small, almost unnoticeable, but he felt it. "Long day?" he asked, trying to keep his tone light. She nodded, eyes still on her phone. "Yeah, just tired." No follow-up, no shared story, no warmth behind it. He watched her fingers move across the screen, quick, practiced, intentional. A faint smile touched her lips for a moment, but it wasn't for him. It disappeared just as quickly as it came, like something private, something not meant to be seen. That's when the silence started to feel louder. He tried at first to adapt, to convince himself that this was what she meant by freedom, that this was healthy, that love didn't have to look the way it used to. But love, at least the way he understood it, wasn't supposed to feel like this. It wasn't supposed to feel like waiting for her to look up, waiting for her to reach for him, waiting to feel chosen again. Even their physical closeness had changed. Where her hand once lingered on his arm, now it only passed by, brief, polite, almost habitual. Where she once leaned into him during quiet moments, now she sat upright, distant, self-contained. One night he reached for her hand while they watched something together. She let him hold it, but she didn't hold back. Her fingers rested in his, still unmoving. There was no pressure, no warmth being returned. It felt less like connection, and more like permission. And somehow that hurt more. He didn't argue. He didn't question too deeply. Instead, he started watching. Not out of jealousy, but out of instinct. Because something inside him, something quiet but certain, was telling him that whatever this open marriage was supposed to be, it wasn't starting now. It had already begun. And he was just the last one to realize it. It happened on a night that felt no different from the others. Quiet, still, ordinary. She had fallen asleep beside him, her breathing slow and even, her body turned slightly away. There was a time when that small distance wouldn't have meant anything. Now, it meant everything. He lay there for a while, staring at the ceiling, unable to shake the restless feeling in his chest. It wasn't anger. Not yet. It was something heavier. A quiet knowing that had been building. Waiting. Her phone rested on the nightstand, just within reach. The screen lit up briefly, a soft notification cutting through the darkness. He didn't move at first. He told himself not to, but then it lit up again. And this time, he looked. Just a glance. That's all it was supposed to be. But one glance became a pause, and that pause became a decision. His fingers felt heavier than they should have as he reached for it. And the moment his hand wrapped around the phone, his chest tightened, like he already knew that whatever he was about to see would change everything. The screen unlocked too easily, and there it was. Messages. Not vague, not harmless, clear. Her name at the top, and beneath it, a conversation that didn't belong to a married woman. He read slowly at first, as if taking his time might somehow soften the impact. But it didn't. It only made it worse. The tone, the familiarity, the way they spoke to each other. Comfortable, intimate, effortless. And then, the trip. Planned weeks in advance. Dates, location, details. Not a work obligation, a getaway. Together. His grip tightened around the phone, his knuckles turning pale. The room suddenly felt too quiet, too still, like the walls themselves were listening. He glanced over at her. She was still asleep. Peaceful, unbothered, as if none of this existed, as if he didn't exist. Something inside him cracked in that moment, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like something breaking beneath the surface. The realization didn't come as a shock. It came as confirmation. The open marriage, the distance, the late nights. None of it was new. It was just an explanation for something that had already been happening behind his back. And somehow, that hurt more than the betrayal itself. Because it meant she hadn't come to him out of honesty. She had come to him out of convenience. His hands trembled slightly as he placed the phone back where it was, careful not to disturb her. He lay back down beside her, staring into the darkness again. But this time, everything felt different. He wasn't confused anymore. He wasn't questioning anything. The doubt was gone. And in its place was clarity. Cold, sharp, unavoidable. He didn't feel the urge to wake her up. He didn't feel the need to confront her. Because in that moment, he understood something important. This wasn't a conversation. This was a decision. And whatever came next, he wouldn't be reacting anymore. He would be choosing. The next morning felt strangely calm. Too calm. He woke up beside her like he always did, the soft light of morning filtering through the curtains, casting a gentle glow across the room. She stirred slightly, stretching, her hand brushing against his arm in a familiar, almost automatic gesture. "Morning," she murmured. He looked at her for a moment, really looked, at the ease in her expression, the absence of guilt, the quiet confidence in the way she carried herself, as if everything was exactly as it should be. And for the first time, He didn't feel the need to search for answers in her face, because he already had them. "Morning," he replied, his voice steady. That steadiness surprised even him. There was no shake, no hesitation, just control. And that's when the shift truly happened. He stopped reacting, stopped questioning, stopped hoping for something that clearly wasn't there anymore. Instead, he started thinking, watching, learning. Over the next few days, he paid attention in ways he never had before, not out of obsession, but with intention. He noticed the patterns, the times she checked her phone, the moments her expression softened, but not because of him. The slight changes in her routine that aligned too perfectly with the messages he had seen. It was all there, clear, predictable, and strangely, it made everything easier, because once you see the truth clearly, you stop fighting it. He mirrored her behavior, stayed calm, stayed composed. He even played along, asking about her work trip, listening as she described it with careful detail. The location, the schedule, the reason. She spoke effortlessly, and he listened just as effortlessly, nodding, responding, smiling when expected. It wasn't fake, it was controlled. Inside, something had settled. Not anger, not revenge, at least not in the way most people would think. What he felt was something quieter, a need for balance, for truth to exist in the open, the way it should have from the beginning. That's when the idea began to form. Not rushed, not impulsive, deliberate. He didn't want to hurt her, not in the way she had hurt him. He didn't want shouting. He didn't want chaos, because those things, they fade. What he wanted was something that would stay, something undeniable, something that couldn't be explained away with calm words and soft smiles. He began preparing quietly, making sure he knew exactly what he needed, exactly when the moment would come, and exactly how it would unfold. There was no rush, because for the first time since all of this began, he wasn't the one being left behind. He was the one in control. The morning she left felt lighter than it should have, almost peaceful. Sunlight poured through the windows, filling the room with a brightness that didn't match the situation. She moved around the bedroom with quiet efficiency, packing the last few things into her suitcase. Her movements were calm, practiced, like she had done this before. He sat on the edge of the bed, watching her without saying much. There was no tension in his posture, no visible emotion in his face, just stillness. "You'll be okay?" she asked, glancing at him briefly. There it was again, that same tone, gentle, casual, as if this was just another ordinary trip. He nodded. "Yeah, of course." And he meant it, not in the way she thought, but in a way that felt final. She zipped up her suitcase, adjusting her jacket as she walked toward him. For a moment she paused, just close enough for her presence to feel familiar again. Her hand rested lightly on his shoulder, a soft touch, comforting, but empty. "Take care of yourself," she said. He looked up at her, meeting her eyes. There was a time when that look would have held warmth, connection, something unspoken between them. Now, it felt like looking at someone he used to know. "You too," he replied. Her fingers lingered for a second longer before she pulled away, grabbing her suitcase and heading toward the door. He followed, not out of habit, but out of observation. Every step, every movement, every detail. Because he knew exactly where she was going, and more importantly, who she was going with. The door closed behind her with a soft click, and just like that, the house fell silent. He stood there for a moment, letting the quiet settle around him. There was no rush of anger, no overwhelming sadness, just calm. A different kind of calm than before. This one wasn't empty, it was focused. He walked back inside, reaching for his phone. The screen lit up in his hand, reflecting faintly in his eyes. Everything was already in place, every detail accounted for, the location, the timing, the truth. He didn't need to guess anymore. He didn't need to wonder. Because this time, he was the one who knew everything. And as the day moved forward, that calm stayed with him, unshaken. Because somewhere, miles away, she believed she was in control of the situation. She believed she was managing everything perfectly. But what she didn't know was that the moment she stepped onto that trip, she stepped directly into the end of everything they had. The moment came exactly as he had planned. No surprises. No uncertainty, just truth, finally brought into the open. She stood in front of him, her expression shifting the second she realized something was wrong. The confidence she always carried, the calm, composed presence, it flickered for the first time. "What is this?" she asked softly. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he held out his phone, the screen facing her. Clear, undeniable. Messages, dates, details. Everything she thought was hidden, now laid bare between them. Her eyes moved quickly across the screen, her breathing changing almost instantly. And the color in her face faded, her posture tightening as the reality of the situation settled in. "This isn't," she started, but the words didn't finish. Because there was no version of this that could be explained away. Not anymore. He watched her quietly, not with anger, not with satisfaction, just clarity. "I know," he said simply. 2 words, but they carried everything. Her gaze snapped back to his, searching, desperate now. "I was going to tell you," she said quickly, stepping closer. I didn't know how." Her hand reached for his arm, fingers trembling slightly as they made contact. For a moment, everything paused. Because that touch, it used to mean something. It used to pull him back in, soften everything, make him forget whatever doubt he had. But this time, it didn't. He looked down at her hand on his arm, and slowly, gently, he stepped back, breaking the contact. That was the moment everything changed. Not when he found out. Not when he planned. But now. Because for the first time, he didn't respond to her. He didn't follow her lead. He didn't accept the version of reality she was trying to offer. Her hand lingered in the air for a second before falling back to her side. And in that small, quiet motion, her composure cracked completely. "I didn't mean for it to be like this," she whispered, her voice no longer steady, but it already was like this. And there was no undoing it. "I know," he said again, still calm, still controlled. And somehow, that calmness hurt more than anger ever could, because it meant he was already gone, even if he was standing right in front of her. The end didn't come with shouting. It didn't come with slammed doors or broken things. It came quietly, in the space between what they used to be and what they had become. They sat across from each other, the same room that once felt warm now holding a different kind of stillness. She looked at him differently now, not with confidence, not with control, but with something fragile, something uncertain. "I never wanted to lose you," she said softly. He believed her, and that was the hardest part, because somewhere beneath everything, beneath the choices, the lies, the distance, there had been something real, something worth holding on to. But reality didn't erase what had happened. It didn't undo the decisions she had already made, and it didn't change the way he felt now. He leaned forward slightly, resting his hands together, his voice steady but quiet. "I think you already did," he said. There was no anger in it, no accusation, just truth. Her eyes filled slowly, her composure slipping in a way he had never seen before. She reached for him again, not with the same confidence as before, but with hesitation. This time, she stopped halfway, as if she already knew. He didn't move, didn't meet her halfway, didn't close the distance. Because that distance, it was real now. and it needed to stay. "I hope you find what you were looking for," he said, standing up slowly. The words weren't cruel. They weren't meant to hurt, but they carried a finality that neither of them could ignore. He walked past her, not rushing, not hesitating, just moving forward. Each step felt lighter than the last, not because it didn't hurt, but because it was over. At the door, he paused for just a moment, not to turn back, but to let the moment settle, to acknowledge everything that had been, and everything that wouldn't be anymore. Then he stepped outside. The air felt different, clear, open, free. Behind him, she remained where she was, surrounded by the silence of what she had lost. And ahead of him, there was something new. Not another person, not another relationship, just space to rebuild, to breathe, to become someone who didn't settle for half-truths and quiet betrayals. Because in the end, he didn't win by hurting her. He didn't win by getting even. He won by walking away, with his dignity still intact. And sometimes, that's the only ending that truly matters.